Okay, great. Welcome to the Beverly Hills post-tennis game. We just finished filming Slow Strength Gymnastic Rings for Beginners with Marie Lohan, who I have admired for a long time in the training spaces that we practice together in, for her very elaborate strength exercises and her training discipline. So I thought Marie and I could do a course together because I thought the world needs to know about Marie's, if I may say, also very detailed and deep knowledge about the body and training that I think comes from a lifetime of experience. Yes, maybe you just want to tell us in your own words what the course was about and how the experience for you maybe also was to teach the things that you usually teach one-on-one, I guess,
yes.
To the camera and to me.
Well, the course is like this 8-week progression, and it's really to start you from absolutely nothing, complete beginner, to hopefully eventually getting your first chin up. And really it's more about understanding that strength is a skill and a practice, and to think of your sessions as practice. You're not having a workout, you're practicing your technique. And yeah, it was very different under the camera than teaching one-to-one. You don't have that feedback that you get so much from a student asking you questions or asking you to repeat something. But yeah, great experience, really enjoyed it.
What I found very interesting talking to you was when you said that strength is a skill, did you say?
Yeah.
That strength itself and the strength practice is a skill, and we often think of a skill as the spectacular result of things we have practiced over a lifetime.
Yeah.
But we don't think of it as the process, as a skill in itself, which I think is actually a very valuable thing in our super fast-paced life, which of course influences, I'm sure you probably encounter some students as well, I certainly do, who have the pace of their life determines the pace at which they think they should learn.
Yes.
There's the expectation to learn skills very quickly if you only follow the right steps. And there is very little awareness of process and slow pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that slow pace will actually get you further in the long run, because you don't have to go back and fill in all the gaps that you missed out because you were rushing ahead to get a particular skill.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take your time building up all the foundations of that skill, you get it very solidly without having to go back and fill in those gaps, if you know what I mean. Did
you find you had to go back and fill in the gaps yourself at some point?
Oh yes, yeah.
Can you give us, or can you give me an example?
I think all of my skills really, like with levers, front levers and back levers, I really pushed fast to try and get them. But you can get them, but you don't get them where you own them, if you know what I mean. There's a difference between being able to occasionally do something and then being able to do it consistently, thoroughly, solidly, with confidence every time. And yeah, so there were many exercises I had to okay, I need to go right back to the beginning and really focus on the technique and training that technique. Yeah, definitely. And with straps, so many times I've had to go back to start again and refocus and work out what was I missing, what piece of the skill did I not work on.
What brought you to strength training or training on rings in general?
Good question. I started out training just doing yoga, like Ashtanga yoga, and I was quite addicted to that for a while. And then I found circus training, and I just fell in love with it straight away. It's quite an intense training, but it's a nice combination of strength and creativity that kind of comes together. Because my actual history is art. I've done fine art as most of my life. So it was a nice combination of that. So once I found that kind of training, that body weight training, I really enjoyed that so much more than just shoving weights around or anything like that.
And weight training with weights, is that something you did before?
I did Olympic weightlifting, which is
right.
the sport of Olympic weightlifting, not weightlifting in the Olympics.
You could have just told me that I would have Well, there are many things we do in our lives. Yeah. What do you feel like is the specific benefit of training with rings?
It's so challenging in many ways, but it's so rewarding because of that. Once you overcome particular challenges, it's such a reward because it doesn't give to you easily. You have to work at something, but then you feel, I've worked for this and finally I've got it. Yeah.
I can definitely relate from a handstand point of view.
Yeah.
What I always found very difficult with rings is that compared to handstands where you have something to push against the floor, which is solid, the rings move, which I always found very irritating because I didn't understand where to apply. It felt like the rings are just slipping from underneath my hands and it felt very shaky.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's that instability which really makes it very challenging and also very frustrating at first. But I remember, you use canes, don't you? And they can shuffle around a little bit.
My canes don't move at all.
Ah, okay. I have tried some that really shuffle around and I'm like, wow, these are really unstable. It's just that learning to exert pressure down into the rings, using your body weight, your strength, that can overcome that instability.
Yeah, because when you do it, the rings don't move at all, it seems.
Yeah, that's why in the Olympics they're called the still rings.
Oh, really? Because you have to hold them still?
They stay still and you move around them.
Okay.
And they're not swinging around.
Yeah, that's what exactly. And then the first time I tried them, I realized that they actually move quite a lot.
Yes, yeah. The potential for them to move is a lot, yeah.
Would you say anyone can learn training on rings or strength-based moves on rings, or what would you say is the best entry route into this type of training?
I think anyone can start learning on them, and really this course I've really tried to gear it to complete beginners. You might not even done any body weight training even on the floor, so you might not have any experience of body weight training, so that instability is something that you're really going to come face to face with, if you see what I mean. So I think this is a really good gentle progression and hopefully helps you to enjoy the process of the training, because there will be frustrations, that's for sure.
And in your own training and throughout your career, how has this notion of slow strength practice really influenced how you train? How did that mindset come about? Was it suddenly? Was it through an injury, or is that just what happens over time when you practice, when you have a daily practice?
Because I do have a daily practice. It gives you the chance to be quite methodical in how you progress through your sessions, and I like each session to be quite thought out in the way each exercise is placed and the order of them.
So you plan that?
I plan each session, and each session has a basic aim that we're working on specifically. So there might be a warm-up that's specific to that basic session, and then maybe some accessory exercises after that work that help for that specific aim. And I think really it's just something that's come over time. I think when I first started, I just wanted all the moves, and then I realized to get the moves and to really get them, you need to take your time and understand the moves and the process to get them.
So that with that comes the deeper knowledge of your body in general, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you maybe give us an example of your daily practice?
Sure. I try and do 2 sessions a day. I do one quite early in the morning before I start teaching, and one, if I can, in the afternoon if I'm not having to teach or anything like that. First session in the morning will be maybe working on levers, front levers or back levers, or muscle ups, just those sort of basic foundational ones.
That's a very great way to get up in the morning.
I like to start my day like that.
Front levers.
And then the afternoon session will probably be more one arm, one hand work,
right.
Sort of switch stuff, more sort of stretch stuff. Yeah.
Well, I definitely it's a good day for me if I can get in one handstand practice a day. Definitely not getting in 2 practices per day. I think you also get up quite early for your first practice. I sometimes think, at least
I try.
Once or twice when I've been early in the training space, I realize how early you get up.
Yeah, I like that time of morning. It's quiet and, you can just get in and focus. Yeah.
Great. And the last thing I wanted to ask you is, how do you then deal with frustration, or when you encounter an obstacle in your training and it just you feel like you're not progressing? So I think one of the most common questions with handstands is, I get it from every single student, I think that over time they feel like something is wrong with them because they're not progressing. And then I try to explain that that is normal, and that's something that you need to deal with in a mindful and kind way, because otherwise that will be the main reason, or at least in handstand practice, I think the main reason why you don't achieve something or you stop is because of the frustration.
Yes, yeah, and so many times I've encountered that frustration myself or with my students, definitely. I think it is being kind with yourself and understanding that that's part of the process, and you have to enjoy the process. You have to get on board with that process, and there's going to be times where you plateau and sometimes where you feel like you've lost what you had.
Yes.
But it's not, it's just your body processing these things, and it goes around and then it comes back and you have it stronger.
Yeah.
So it's just being patient with yourself and sticking with the process.
Great. Thank you very much for this interview, and there will be a link in the description box below to the Slow Strength course. And I hope that you enjoyed this interview very much. I have certainly enjoyed talking to Marie. And yes, have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie.